Hello guys. Welcome back to another amazing fanfic story. First of all, a huge thank you for all the love and support on part 1. So many of you were asking for the next part in the comments, and because of your requests, I'm finally back with part 2. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button for more amazing fanfic stories. Now, without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into part 2. Temari shifted slightly on the camel as she watched Gara. Her brother, instead of riding a camel, was floating alongside on a pillar of sand. He wasn't sleeping, but for him the open desert seemed to bring relief. As if reading her thoughts, Gara said simply, "My mind is calm here." Floating along for another minute, Gara added in a quiet voice, "I caused you much trouble. You didn't choose your path, Gara. Create your own now." Temari replied quietly. "Thank you, sister." Gara replied in for him what was a happy voice. "I wish to protect you, brother, and perhaps others." "Good you do that, Gara." Temari replied as her voice started to crack. Here she was, a kunoichi who wore a mask of a blood-loving killer bitch because, well, she was one and it helped her from puking when Gara really got going. She was about to cry from the few simple words her youngest brother had said. Fortunately, a party of bandits that had spotted the camel train decided to attack. Against the 3 Junin escorting her, Gara and Temari, they didn't last a minute. Grumbling, Temari was about to get back on her stinking camel when Gara lifted her onto his now expanded sand pillar. As the Junin escort raised their eyes, Temari hugged her brother and started chatting away with Gara. It was a sight that had yet to be seen in Suna. Then their mouths dropped when she mussed Gara's hair. "Hey Gara, remember our first mission together? We were sent against a pile of bandits. I killed my first man that day. That had been a rush." Temari chatted away with her brother under the night sky. "Yes," Gara replied and cocked his head to one side as he remembered something. "I killed an archer aiming at you then. He did not even have a chance to scream." "Thanks, Gara. I didn't know that." Temari sighed happily. Then as the sand shifted, bringing up a dung beetle, she let out a curse as she swatted it away. Gara merely raised his eyebrow and said, "Would you like a scorpion instead?" Temari paused for a moment as various thoughts flashed across her face. Then a smile crossed her face. Gara had just made a joke. "Very funny, Gara. Just don't turn into Kankuro, he isn't the best role model." Nodding, Gara let a ghost of a smile cross his lips. "I won't. We prepared a gift for you though, copies of the family scrolls." Pausing after Temari hugged him hard, Gara tried patting her back. A few tears soaked his shirt, but Gara didn't mind. Tears didn't rouse Shukaku's bloodlust. It was in the comfortable silence that followed that both Temari and Gara used to reforge their bond as siblings as they floated across the sea of the desert. Sakura sighed in contentment. They were finally done cleaning the house. The former owner had been an old single chunin who had collected weapons from all over the world, and not to mention a whole pile of knickknacks. What had been worse were the multiple meals left all over the place. Now the small house had been thoroughly cleaned, aired, and all the minor things repaired. Naruto had proven surprisingly useful during the mission. He was very much used to cleaning and making minor repairs and would use his cage buncheons to help. Sasuke as well knew how to clean, but had spent much of his time going through the weapons. Kakashi's notes covered the fact that they were welcome to choose any weapons they wanted. Apparently the man's friends had taken away mementos already. After that, all the useful weapons would be stockpiled and the rest judged for historical value. Sakura had replenished her basic weaponries and had taken a ceremonial knife that was decorated with cherry blossoms on the sheath. Sasuke had merely restocked and grabbed training weights. Naruto, however, had found an old but still in good shape sand battle fan. At Sasuke's questioning glance, Naruto merely shrugged and replied, "Like I could afford a better present." That of course brought up the whole subject of Naruto and Temari getting married as part of the treaty. It wasn't that the three hadn't wanted to talk about it, the other two would always shift the topic. Not now, however, as Sakura decided to take the opening. "So what are your thoughts on the whole situation, Naruto?" Sakura asked quietly. Stuffing a few kunai into his pouch, Naruto had a look of intense concentration on his face. "It's a mission we've both been assigned to do. So I'll perform it to the best of my ability, as I'm sure Temari will." Glancing at Sasuke's smirk, Naruto fired back, "It's not like either of us was given a choice. They could have picked you or heck even sent Sakura to sand. I'll just make the best of it and continue improving. Besides, it's not like either of us got made chunin." Wincing at that, Sasuke answered, "True, Dobi. I mean, why would she choose to get married to you? Like she'd want to marry a Tem like you. Though that would have pissed off your fangirls," Naruto said with a sly grin across his face. "Speaking of which, since you could date all of them but don't, the guys are starting to wonder if they have to watch their backsides." Naruto dodged the hail of shuriken as Sasuke growled, "Dobi, that's low just 'cause I prefer more mature women." Wincing slightly, Sasuke realized what he just admitted. Naruto was going to bug him about this forever. In fact, Naruto grinned in delight and asked, "So like Nara Yoshino, or maybe the old granny near your house maybe? Even better, Kurenai Sensei heck she's hot enough to crush on. Or maybe Kiba's mom." Naruto rolled out names at fast pace. "Naruto!" Sakura screamed as she beat Naruto into the ground. It couldn't be true, it just couldn't. Sasuke couldn't like older women. Snarling a little, Sasuke glared hard at the Dobi and bit out, "Not Kiba's mother either." Dobi. Managing to strain himself upwards, Naruto got out, "Ooh, his sister." Sakura made Naruto eat dirt after that remark. Blushing slightly, Sasuke replied, "Whatever, Dobi. I'm going to start hauling these boxes away to be sorted." Sakura finally started to think about what had just happened. Hana. Inuzuka Hana. God, there's no way Sasuke should have a crush on Hana. Crap, how am I going to compete against that? Sakura thought. Ino was going to scream about this as well. A new rival had appeared. Naruto sighed as he dusted himself off. Limping slightly, he got a pile of clones to start hauling the boxes. "Hey Sakura-chan, get moving, we don't want to be all day at this," Naruto called out. "Exactly, as if we hide them. I believe the current list is 2 fire jutsus, and a few genjutsus. Nothing spectacular but effective ones." Kakashi replied. Frowning, Temari asked, "Why aren't you teaching them those jutsus? It was in their briefing materials as genin. One can lead an ox to water." Kakashi shrugged and got back to reading. Actually, now that he thought about, Kakashi realized he had missed the meeting about the briefing materials. It wasn't like he was expecting any team to pass his test. He'd check up with Iruka about that. After all, he was sure Naruto would have learnt the basic Kanten jutsus. The boy was jutsu mad after all. He had just assumed that Naruto avoided using them since Sasuke had mastered higher level Kanten jutsus. Still, it wasn't exactly a secret about those jutsus. Rolling her teal eyes, Temari shifted her attention back to the road. The miles plodded onwards as the ox team slogged onwards. Unfortunately for Temari, no bandits decided to show themselves so she could kill them. She considered killing the oxen at one point but reconsidered since as it would her hauling the cart. As they pulled into a roadside stop for the night, Temari saw the sign proclaiming a hot springs a short ways away. After putting the team away, Temari knew that she liked camels much better than oxen. Even with their gait and tendency to spit cut accurately, they were intelligent enough to look after themselves. Oxen were decidedly not. Traveling on foot at high speeds was much preferred, but impractical for hauling goods as she was now. She was hauling more with her than she originally thought to take. Gaara had organized a going-away party for her in a relatively short amount of time. He apparently had kept track of their father's supporters and spread the news. Having Gaara loom on one's doorstep had an effective response, and her fellow kunoichi friends had spread the news fast as well. As a result, a veritable showering of gifts had occurred. For some of the kunoichi, Temari knew it was out of relief for not being chosen. She would have felt the same if it had been another kunoichi instead. Securing a tarp over the goods, Temari headed into the lodgings. She was sharing a room with the woman, Hana, and Temari had noticed that she was partnered with 3 wolves of some kind. So it was upon entering the room that she was greeted by the 3 wolves growling at her. Stopping, Temari glared back for a moment before Hana turned around and snapped at them, "Boys, quiet down," and Hana turned back to sorting through her travel pack. As they whined a little, Hana just growled in a low, hard tone that got a yip from one of the animals. Raising an eyebrow, Temari tossed her travel bag by the foot of the other futon in the room. Pulling out her fan, Temari carefully laid it down beside the futon she had claimed for her own. Shifting through her memories of the Chunin exam, Temari recalled the opponent Naruto had fought in the prelims. He had a much smaller animal, but the same sort of facial tattoos as Hana. Before Temari could speak, Hana turned around and flashed her a fang-filled grin. There's a nice bathhouse a short run away. I don't know about you, but traveling slow always makes me dusty. Letting a grin cross her own face, Temari realized that Hana wasn't going to be holding grudges over the recent attack, or at least not enough to deny a travel-worn woman a chance to freshen up. Not to mention I now smell of camel. A bath would be perfect. Temari replied happily. Rummaging through her travel bag, she pulled out a change of clothing, identical to her current wear but a rust-colored dress instead of light purple. So that's what the smell was. I was trying to place it. Hana remarked with a wry grin on her face. Seeing Temari ready to go, Hana whistled and moved out into the hallway, followed by her companions. Waiting for the last of the three wolves to leave, Temari pulled out an average-sized tessin from her bag. While it wasn't as effective as her battle fan, the regular fan let her use jutsus, albeit at a much less powerful level, without being obvious that she had a weapon. Frankly, for her it was a backup weapon. It nonetheless would give her guards time to catch up with her in case of an attack. Kakashi, I'm taking Temari to the baths as planned. The boys will be on the perimeter. Hana said as she poked her head into Kakashi's room. Here I was all set to take that duty. Oh well, I guess I'll read instead. Kakashi replied in an easy manner. Pulling out of Kakashi's room, Hana rolled her eyes and motioned for Temari to follow her. An hour later, Temari was feeling much more human as she slipped into the hot springs beside Hana. Being clean was a wonderful restorative, even beating shredding a bandit into red mist. Hana herself looked relaxed as her unbound hair floated on the water. Temari's hair was only shoulder length when she let it down, but it was floating as she submerged herself neck deep. I'm guessing you didn't volunteer? Hana asked quietly. No, it was an assigned mission. Temari replied frankly. For kunoichi of high families, the realities of arranged marriages were a sword over their head. The saying went, your body is merely another tool. Expect it will be used one way or another. Then again, the average kunoichi, unless she married young, was expected to undertake courtesan missions. Their bodies were used one way or another. At least she wasn't sleeping with some old man as part of her mission. Instead, she had been bartered away as a political bargaining chip. Keeping her face still, Hana replied honestly, at least among the younger kunoichi I'll spread the word. That way you won't have a totally frigid reception. All of us who possibly face the same situation will sympathize. The older ones likely won't. Keeping her face straight, Temari replied honestly, given that it's been slightly under 2 weeks since the battle, I'm not surprised. Shrugging her shoulders, Hana replied, among those that lost somebody, no, I wouldn't be. It's also the issue of whom you've been engaged to. The Uzumaki boy is very much. Hana paused to choose her words carefully, even though she didn't know the secret she and other children had been taught to keep clear of the boy, to fear and hate him. Kiba's lose to Naruto and his defeat of Neji had caused her to reconsider the boy. Has been the village pariah for most of his life. It's changing, but it's still there. Wincing a little at the news, Temari realized things weren't going to be easy at all in adjusting to her new life. Sure, everybody back in Suna avoided Gaara like the plague, and her as well to some extent, but that was out of fear. Gaara would randomly kill people depending on his mood. This was going to be worse, it seemed, but as she had said earlier, this was a mission. Why are people jealous of his abilities? Temari asked. Shaking her head, Hana answered, I don't think so. It's always been a mystery to me as to why he's been treated that way. Shibi might know, or Kakashi. Shivering at the bug user's name, Temari replied, no. I'll wait. Sharing one's body with bugs, ugh. With a single bark of laughter, Hana replied, so there is an upside to being married to Naruto. At least it isn't Shibi's son in your case. Putting on a steely face, Temari replied, I'd insist on someone else. I'm sure he's fine, but the whole bug thing just creeps me out. Oh, he's the methodical, intelligent type. Cute too once he takes off his jacket. I'm sure some girl will fall for him. Hana gossiped back. Raising an eyebrow, Temari asked, you know this how? He's on the same team as my little brother. My mother invited them over several times. Hana replied back. Before Temari could reply, a howl sounded in the evening air. Hana looked up and then replied in kind. After she finished, Hana commented, Time to get going. Nodding, Temari started getting out and dressed. This was going to be a long trip and she doubted there would be any more baths along the way. Iruka had to admit the house was more than suitable as a wedding gift. Located on one of the nicer outskirts of Konoha, the two-story house was on a large fenced lot with green space in the front and back. Trees surrounded it, created the illusion the house was isolated and peaceful. Interestingly enough, one of Naruto's new neighbors was Maida Guy's family home. Though Guy had his own place, he still came by to see his parents, or as Naruto put it, Fuzzy Eyebrow Sr. and wife. Iruka and Naruto also discovered that yes, Guy really had inherited his behavior, as Guy Sr. worked out constantly in his yard as much as his one remaining arm allowed. Fortunately, Guy Sr. didn't wear the dreaded green outfit, much to Naruto's relief. Naruto's other neighbor was owned by the Fire Lord and used to house officials on a rotating basis. It was frankly the best Naruto and Temari could do, as it was unlikely that better neighbors could be found. The Maidas had quickly been won over by Guy's declaration of Naruto's passionate youth with cheers from both father and son. The officials were likely to ignore Naruto since they didn't stick around that long. Rolling his eyes, Iruka watched Naruto direct his bunchins as they moved his few belongings into his new house. Prominent among them was the old worn couch that Iruka knew was actually quite comfortable to sleep on the few times he had stayed at Naruto's. Oddly enough, after the couch, it was one Bunshin's carrying a case in particular that received special care by the others. Not that Naruto would treat his ramen stock any other way. Moving into the empty but clean house, Iruka grinned as Naruto carefully ordered the placement of the couch with much grumbling from his Bunshins. The ramen was reverently being put away by one of the clones into a cupboard in the kitchen. The place was hollow with the utter lack of furniture. Not too much of a surprise, Naruto really hadn't had much of a chance to accumulate furniture. Dismissing most of the Bunshins, Naruto had a blank look upon his face as glanced around at his change in living conditions as if truly taking it in. Iruka-sensei, this is really happening, isn't it? The marriage. Temari. This house. Naruto said quietly as the blood drained from his face. Putting as much compassion and concern as possible, Iruka replied, yes. Yes, it is. Sighing a little, Naruto said in a very calm, quiet voice, I hope she likes it. Before Iruka could reply, the door opened and Sasuke called out, Hey Dobi, you here? We've got another mission. The blasted cat needs to be caught so it can get neutered. Naruto's face shifted gears as a smile passed his face. Hey Tem, I'll be ready in a minute. Finally, revenge against that blasted cat. Chuckling evilly, Naruto secured his ninja gear as his Bunshins tossed it to him. Iruka had heard all about Naruto's many retrieval missions of the cat. Whenever the Fire Lady visited Konoha, the cat tried to escape. Rumor had it she visited so often to shop, and not just for clothing either. Apparently she liked handpicking the shinobi chosen for public guard duty. Her tastes ran to trim young men with well-turned-out calves. Shaking his head clear, Iruka grabbed his own house-warming gift. Not knowing what Temari was able to bring, Iruka figured she'd at least need a bed. Naruto's Iruka knew would soon be too small for him as well. So he had purchased them each a bed and matching futon. To fit his budget, Iruka had gotten them from a popular assemble-it-yourself store. Opening the box in Naruto's room first, Iruka could only groan at the instructions written in the blocky letters of another language. Fortunately, it was his day off, so Iruka had lots of time to put the beds together. At worst, Iruka would make it work ninja style if he had to. He wouldn't be able to do much for the next month with the stack of C and B class missions ahead of him. He would though be back in time later this week to meet Temari if she arrived on schedule. Shaking his head, Iruka started considering his own love life, or lack of it. After the invasion and the missions he had to start taking again, Iruka realized that he was ready to settle down. Naruto was a taste of fatherhood and Iruka wanted more. Unfortunately, his problem was finding someone to settle down with. Maybe it was finally time to talk to Anko. When they had both been students, she had helped him pull off pranks with great humor. He had only rarely seen her true smiles ever since she had gotten back from Orochimaru. She was the closest thing he had to a sister, and one of the few women he could actually talk honestly and openly to. That, and she always got a laugh over his love life. She humored him, but said she would only help if was planning on getting serious. After all, she wanted to have nieces and nephews to spoil. Others had always wondered about the two of them, thinking they were getting together or destined to, but Iruka didn't care. Anko had simply been his first friend after the death of his parents. Her gap-toothed grin as she suggested a way to up a prank had gotten Iruka to smile honestly for the first time. Iruka first met her as he carefully prepared a prank on their taijutsu instructor by putting itching powder in his shoes. Anko at the same time was carefully soaking his weapons in glue. Iruka had found in his time at the academy a bratty little sister in Anko. Sure, she had more talent, but Iruka hadn't cared. It was the fact that he had someone who acknowledged him. Orochimaru had then taken Anko as his apprentice and proceeded to nearly destroy his bratty little sister. Iruka had helped her pick up the pieces of her life, being the first to acknowledge her as a friend right after the Snake Sanin's betrayal. Too skilled to be a Chunin yet not trusted to be a Junin, she had been stuck as a special Junin. The Chunin exam had been her first chance in years to show the village that they could trust her. Orochimaru had screwed that up again for her. It was definitely time to talk to Anko. After all, she would have advice for him and Naruto. Not to mention that he did owe her dango. Owing Anko dango wasn't a good idea. She was a lot like Naruto in his ramen mission. I don't have a choice, neither does she. Besides, why would I mind no longer living in a dump? That, and she's definitely good looking. Rolling her eyes, Ino snapped. Yes, but she's a sand shinobi. Aren't you at all worried? Rolling his eyes, Naruto fired back. Of what? I beat her brother. Besides, she's going to be a leaf soon enough. Weren't you hung up on Sakura? Ino replied with a sharp glare. Sighing and shuffling his feet for a moment, Naruto replied quietly, she respects me and we're friends, but. Ino rolled her eyes at this, knowing what the but was, humph, like I wasn't going to take care of that soon enough. Sasuke's mine. Rolling his eyes at that, Naruto fired back, I doubt that. Besides, I was starting to figure out I wanted to be friends with Sakura first. Dating her would have been great, but that's not going to happen. Now that doesn't matter with this arranged marriage, so I'll make the best of it. Shrugging slightly, Ino sighed and said, fine. Be that way. Quote, hey, I will. Besides, not only is Temari strong, she's got great legs. Naruto said with a grin on his face as he replayed the memory of following her up the stairs again. Even if he hadn't wanted to get married, Naruto had learned and appreciated the female form enough to realize he had gotten pretty lucky. Yup. He wasn't being perverted since he was marrying Temari, right? Temari grinned as a scroll she found was being used to store bag upon bag of coffee beans. If there was one thing Temari knew she was going to miss, it was Suna coffee. Now she had plenty of her favorite drink. With quick bite of her thumb, Temari summoned a 5-kilo bag. Her grin spread as she noted the high-grade brand. Even though the Alashar clan was full of stone-cold killers, they knew their coffee and its devotees. Slipping the scroll into her dress, Temari grabbed the bag and Naruto to the kitchen. He had already pointed out his cupboard of ramen and its sacred place in his heart. Smiling like a cat that's just eaten the mouse, Temari picked out her own cupboard and put the coffee carefully in place. Right, Naruto, you've got your ramen cupboard, now I have my coffee cupboard. No messing with each other's cupboard. With a serious look on his face, Naruto said, you have my word on it. No messing with each other's important cupboard. Flashing him a warm grin, Temari extended her hand and shook on it. Even if it was several years before they got married and were ready for marital life, they had to live together. Establishing a few ground rules and personal spaces would make the transition easier. Now let's get back to finding what else we've got in there. That was when a loud thump was heard and Ino called out, damn it, Choji, what? Ooh, that's, well, wow. Tenten was giggling and blushing at the sight of a package Ino was showing her. Raising an eyebrow, Temari asked, what's so funny? Well, I'm hoping this is from a good friend, because it will otherwise raise a lot of questions. Ino replied with a cat-like grin on her face. Let me see. Naruto called out in impatience. Oh, you will, Naruto. Just not now. Tenten replied with a sly grin on her face. Realizing which package Choji had first peeked into, Temari felt a blush forming. Mir, one of her few civilian friends, was known for her taste and ability in designing lingerie, had obliviously given her something special. Good friend, she designs them. So no, Naruto, you can't see it yet. Raising one perfect eyebrow, Ino put the lid back and said, here, you might want to put this right away. Shikamaru, Naruto get Choji awake again.